It's the early hours of Friday, the 26th of February 2016. Kaz Clark awakens in the night and is strangely drawn to the field outside her house. The reason? Something enormous is in the sky. As she wanders out into the field, she looks up. What she sees takes her breath away. She describes seeing a large pyramid of light dominating the sky. It's so big, it's unmistakably not an aircraft. What starts to happen is probably the strangest experience of her life.
Hi guys, welcome back to UAP Network. It's Dave here along with Kyle. Can't wait to dive into tonight's topic. Kyle, thanks for starting us off. I'm super intrigued. I don't know anything about this. Before we get started though, guys, it'd really help out the channel if you don't mind hitting the little subscribe button down below. It helps more than you think. The more we grow this channel, the better interviews we'll be able to perform, the higher profile the guests are that we'll be able to invite on. Like, keep helping us to grow. Kyle and I are super passionate about this with the UK slant. And if you get some value, you like it, hit the little like button. That helps us too. Really, really helps out the channel. Thanks, guys. So, Kyle, I can't wait to dive in. I'm super intrigued already. We haven't talked about this at all, apart from, we know we're talking about it. So I'm super excited. I think before we get there, as you guys will have come to expect, it's time for the news.
What you got this week, Dave?
I think it's all quiet on the Western Front because I'm just desperate for the next War.gov release over in America. I've been on the website, feels like 20 times between last time we recorded, like just refreshing. I keep typing in the registered domain names in America that haven't come live yet, Alien.gov.
I've heard something about that.
Still nothing there. So
yeah.
Beyond that, I've been keeping up to date on some content, but not an awful lot happening. Obviously, everybody's poised for kind of what's coming next. How about you?
Yeah, well, there was something released about Aliens.gov. I think I forgot to mention it last week when we recorded. Anna Paulina Luna was interviewed by, I want to say, Matt Laszlo. I might have got that wrong, but she was interviewed, and someone asked her the question. It might have actually been on Twitter or X, and she responded saying it's got Aliens.gov has got nothing to do with the Department of War releases. So who knows what that's going to be used for?
Wow.
But there are, I mean, cynical me.
Volunteer. Hold on. I'd like to volunteer. Maybe it's a new messaging board for us to communicate with our new global and universal brethren. Can't get my words out. Let's hope it's that. Yeah, it's the new Reddit for the interplanetary age.
Well, this leads on to probably the only bits I've got of news, because I think there was a hope and an expectation we were going to get the next drop last week. We didn't. Yeah. I think everybody's holding out hope it's going to be this week or next week, because they did say it was going to be bi-weekly drops. Then you hear it's weekly drops, but who knows? Yeah. But Donald Trump released a very strange photo on Truth Social this week. Apparently, there have been some meetings where the White House staff were approaching some of the more well-known established people within the movement, saying, we've kind of started something now, but we don't really know where to go with it now. We need some help. And I think some talks and some discussions had happened. And then the next minute, Donald Trump releases a photo of an AI alien walking with him down the side of a hangar. And everyone's like, is he trolling us? Or is this sign of things to come? But also, the rumor that seems to be continuing is the beginning of July is when this apparent speech is supposed to happen. And there is news coming out of the White House that he has the speech. He sat on the speech, waiting for the right moment to deliver it. And is it this natural build that we're going to see now that files are starting to release? So that's kind of news element number one. Linked to that, Stephen Bartlett, Diary of a CEO, had Hal Puthoff on in the last week.
I watched it.
Did you see what he said?
Yes. Yeah. Yep. Fascinating.
4 types.
Yeah.
So now we're saying reptiles, greys, Nordics, and mantis beings are all mainstream. Who'd have thunk
Yeah,
that?
I know. It was a fascinating podcast, and I love Stephen Bartlett for putting it out there. Kyle, I've shared with you some other content that I've been watching of his recently today on a separate topic. So always glad to engage with the Diary of a CEO podcast. So guys, go and give him a follow. I know he's looking for subscribers too, but give us a follow too. Yeah.
Please.
Make sure you send his community back our way. We'd love a few million to come and help our channel grow.
Yes,
But
please.
I think it was very interesting. I think there was a lot of speculation around how are you better off kind of driving forward that disclosure, and it really just touches on what you were talking about there, Kyle. I think they reference specifically, well, we've got some information out there now, and people aren't jumping out of the windows and kind of, people running around the streets in mass hysteria, which was always
Mm.
the reason not to disclose. So it's almost going, yeah, so we're all waiting. Nobody's as
Hmm.
surprised as you think they are, sort of thing. So
Hmm.
it feels like that's going to add a level of momentum to it. And that was certainly kind of the view of the experts that were on the podcast with Stephen. So, yeah, it was an
Yeah.
interesting watch.
There was one other thing as well that I think happened. It might have been overnight. So we're recording this on a Wednesday. I saw it today, and Steven Spielberg was interviewed on a US
Oh, really?
talk show.
Yeah.
The headline was, "Isn't it going to be beautiful and amazing when we all find out that this is true?"
Wow. Love
He
that.
knows something. You're not
Yeah,
telling me that
clearly.
he doesn't know. He clearly knows something.
Yeah. Yeah, the timing, I mean, look, they say there's no such thing as a coincidence.
Something's occurring. Something is occurring. So it's yeah,
Definitely.
it's only this stuff this week, like really small stuff. I do honestly think when this next drop comes out, I think it's going to probably break the internet.
Yeah. I hope it doesn't break the internet because I want to look at all the pictures, but I hope it drops some genuine good pictures, some genuine good footage, and really kind of invites us to kind of test our curiosity. Guys, let
Yeah.
us know in the comments. Have you guys got any news? Have we been missing stuff? Is there some channels that we should be kind of checking out? Let us know. Let's continue to grow the community together. That would be amazing.
And also, like, if there's anybody that's involved in the news or not and just wants to come on and have a chat with us, we're open to that too.
100%.
We do want to engage a little bit and we want to grow it, like Dave keeps saying. So, and I always offer for any Space Brothers to knock on the door and ask for a cup of tea, but I'll continue to say it every week until it happens.
Yeah, that'd be nice. And if you're worried about being alone with Kyle, he's a big fella. We can
Don't be.
meet in public. We can just go and find a coffee shop or whatever. So
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
don't
Me
be
and Dave do
alarmed.
that regular.
We
Yeah, we
do.
do that regular.
He's a big
Also,
softy,
before we
really.
get on to, yeah, before we get onto the main subject, I just want to say I watched Sleeping Dog. If you
Oh,
haven't
how
watched
was
it,
it? I haven't watched
go
it yet.
watch it.
Okay.
It's incredible.
Yeah.
It's
I
really good.
watched. I watched some people that were kind of talking about having watched it and some of the stuff that was in it. I've just not actually gone and watched it yet, so I'll carve out some
Yeah.
time. I mean, we both had quite a busy week, didn't we? Kind of last week, and
Yeah.
feels like the calm after the storm coming into this week, but still full on. So yeah, good.
So a little
Okay.
peek behind the scenes. Me and Dave were at an event on Friday night for our normal everyday life that I put on,
Boring
and
lives.
yeah, I slept all most of Saturday and Sunday because I was absolutely exhausted. But anyway, moving on to UFOs and aliens, I've got something for you, and I know it's really cool that you don't know about this one. I've been searching the archives for something that I knew about, getting some detail together, and I've been looking for fringe cases to kind of come and kind of go. Here's a new one, Dave. What do you think to this one? And then we can do the whole, because I enjoy doing the whole skeptic,
Yeah.
believer stuff. I was going to do Todmorden. I always pronounce it wrong.
Yeah.
Todmorden.
Yeah.
And I was like, no,
Is
it's
it
too
Todd
easy.
Morden?
It's too well
Todd
known.
Morden?
Todd
Yeah.
Morden. I think I said
Yeah.
Todd Morden, and I got told off, and I was told, no, it's Todmorden. I'm like, That makes no sense. Anyway, that's just me. So we are going to be travelling today to the Welsh town of Pentyrch, and this
I
is a
was
really recent one.
okay. Nice. How recent?
2016.
Oh wow, that's really quite
Mm,
recent. Okay, good. I'm
yeah,
excited.
yeah.
So I'm in Wales.
Um,
I'm picturing
you're
it.
in Wales, so I'll go through a bit of a background bit, as we always do, and we'll drag it out a little bit, walk you through it, get a little bit at the beginning, what kind of happened, how does it become a little bit more strange before kind of touching on some of the bits that apparently happened after, and then we'll take it from there, and we'll just see how our little discussion goes, mate. So, I didn't know how to pronounce Pentyrch, because it's got a really weird spelling with a Y, but it's called Pentyrch, and it's a village, and it's on the edge of the countryside northwest of Cardiff in Wales.
Okay.
Um, the reason why it's worth pointing that out is that the alleged activity was over woods and commons. It wasn't a city centre. This was rural, not a lot of people around, not a landscape you would expect to see things in the sky at low level. You've got to think like sparsely populated, Peak District style. That's what you want to be, kind of like Brecon Beacons, down there in Wales, that kind of area. The main witness is a person called Kaz Clark. I don't know if they're a he or a she, to be quite frank. I've just got the name, but the report was that it happened in the early hours of Friday, the 26th of February in 2016.
Okay. So nice cold, crisp morning.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
Yep. I would say it's probably still dark. If it's early hours, you'd expect it to be. It normally gets light in the UK at 8 o'clock, normally that time of year, 7, 8 o'clock. Yeah. It's worth saying as well that it wasn't like a one-off random occurrence that something was seen. The witness said that there had been unusual aircraft in the sky for days leading up to the event.
That's interesting.
They often say that kind of thing happens, that it's kind of like an earthquake. You get the little minor quakes before you get the big event, and then you get the little murmurs after. It's like a prolonged event, it's not just a one-off.
Yeah, it's quite interesting. And that was similar, wasn't it, for that case that we covered? And I don't think we've actually published the video yet, but the one that was over at Fruki up in Scotland. So, and we will have published it before you guys watch this one. So, but yeah, very similar, because there was a few instances of additional kind of, things being observed. It's very interesting. That was, I'm sure that was a similar time, 2016.
It was September. It was 96, wasn't it?
Was it?
But still,
I think it was 96. I've got another one queued up in my queue.
Yes, you have.
2016. Yeah, that was the one we were chatting about. Okay, cool.
Yeah. There's one point worth pointing out for this as well, and this is kind of a skeptic's viewpoint, to kind of just season the steak a little bit. Season it a little bit.
Straight away, Ral.
Yeah, but it's worth calling out. But I'm calling it out for a specific reason. So, the area was affected by an actual real military exercise that was happening around the same period. Apparently it was called Chameleon.
Okay.
Now, skeptics are going to point to that and say, well, there were aircraft in the sky, right? So that's what people saw. But UAPs tend to follow military activity anyway. They like to get in close. It's no surprise that the footage we're seeing coming out of the US tends to be in military areas, militarized zones. They seem to gravitate towards conflict. So if there's a military exercise, I don't necessarily think it's an excuse for a skeptic to say there was something happening in the skies via military. It could be, it was. Both things happened.
Yeah.
I'm kind of getting my argument in early.
All right. I'm going to sit on the fence until we get to the end. How's that? But I hear you, and I agree. Like, over time, there has always been, what certainly seems to be observed is a link between, wars and seeing UFOs, in and around military bases and such. And when you come back to all of those points in history where people have, you know, encountered or, believe they've encountered these beings, the same message comes through over and over again
Mm.
around, kind of humanity and heading towards a really large disaster. And it always comes, through and through around war. So,
Hmm.
for me, that's always in my mind the way that I kind of, I suppose, kind of assume is that's because that's linked to that same messaging. Do you know what I mean? Like,
Mm. No, I really do see your point. And it's a great little slant to put on this stuff. That if we are going towards a trajectory, I can't say it, trajectory of
yeah,
real issue, are if they're benevolent, are they keeping a very close eye on us? And then you're kind of into Chris Bledsoe territory where there will be an intervention of sorts, which he's saying is going to happen in October. I mean, that
okay,
whole premonition was all built on the fact that Israel was going to start a war with Iran.
yeah,
And look where we are.
no,
And then apparently it's all leading to something that happens in October. Around the time I'll be in Roswell.
maybe the safest place to be. Um,
Yeah, probably. So
yeah,
we'll start with the beginning of the story, and the first bit of this is, I don't know, it's got like a Close Encounters of the Third Kind thing. Because what Kaz Clark says is that in the early hours, it's a she. She says she was drawn out to the fields behind her home. That she had she was there was an inclination to get up and go out, but only then does she say, and it was because something enormous was visible in the sky.
wow,
But there was a feeling of I need to go outside, and then when she does go outside, she sees this huge object that just dominates the skyline.
imagine that.
How
Just,
would you feel?
I think, how
If
would
you
I feel?
if you put yourself in that
Yeah,
spot, you've got a feeling, like we often talk in our personal lives about yeah, those gut feels, like you've got that
yeah,
gut feel you need to go and do something, and then you walk
yeah,
outside and you see you
yeah.
see something just blocking out the sky. How would you feel?
I think probably not scared, probably not even apprehensive. Personally, in awe. I think. I think
Mm,
it's
great
almost like
word.
a privilege to see these things,
Mm,
in my view. And I feel privileged to have seen, the things that I've seen, whether I discuss it or not. I still feel that way, and I think to have an encounter on such a grand scale,
yeah,
like yeah, I think I'd feel humbled and in awe, and like I want to get a camera very quickly.
yeah. I feel very much the same. Like we have spoke about our experiences in the past, and I'm yet to I mean, I've seen strange things at a distance, but I haven't ever really had a full up encounter like
Yeah,
you have. What if that thing drops then and somebody walks out? Do you still feel in awe? Or is at
I
that point
think
you're
so.
like, okay,
I think
nice.
what's the worst that's going to happen? You're probably not going to remember anyway, based on
Yeah, probably
everybody
not.
else's experience. Certainly the people that have been publicly talking about a kind of direct contact experience where maybe
Yeah,
they've been examined or whatever. Yeah, I think still not afraid.
yeah,
I'm I'm more afraid of walking around the city centre in the city that I
okay.
live, based on the current behaviour of youth culture and gangs and stuff,
That's
than,
really
than I
interesting.
am that.
Honestly, Dave, that's really interesting. Because I feel exactly the same. I wouldn't be scared in these situations. I am scared in those situations.
Yeah,
I and you like I do work hard to try and not. I try and work hard to make sure that people can't push me around, so to
Yeah,
speak.
sure.
I still have the same fear that when I'm walking around city centres these days, that I've got to look over my shoulder, especially when I'm with
Yeah,
my partner.
yeah.
Weird, isn't it? If I saw an
It is
alien,
weird.
won't be scared. Won't be
Yeah,
scared. Because you'd hope that they have gone past some of the things that we're going through at the minute.
yeah.
That's really interesting. Okay, so Kaz, she then
Sorry for the
describes.
vulnerability, guys. Sorry.
You
Right,
don't
go
have to
on, dive
apologise
in.
for that. I love this kind of stuff, and me, like, without giving the game away too much, but me and Dave do another podcast together. Those conversations for me, I think, are the most relatable. I love it. I love that. I like that kind of bit. So Kaz, she then describes seeing this huge pyramid of light dominating the night sky. And the report is it's large enough she felt it could not be mistaken for a normal aircraft. Now, think of the words enormous, dominating, huge, pyramid.
Yeah.
I don't think you're going to look at that and think it's a Boeing 747.
No, probably not. Probably not a hot
Yeah,
air balloon or a helium balloon either.
no. No, definitely not. I think it's
No,
probably how it's been written up, but um, if you see something like that and it's kind of in a fixed state, you're not going to think it's an aircraft. I think you're going to be hit with the, pardon the pun, hit by the alien nature of it. It's going to be strange to see something so big that is
sure.
silent. And
Um,
the shape of it is not what would be a conventional aircraft. It's not going
sure.
to make sense from a physics perspective. So you're going to feel a little bit discombobulated.
Nice.
Kaz
Yeah,
then
I agree.
says the first part she focuses on is a red light high above the trees, but it's thousands of feet up. And
Okay.
as the red light came lower, she says that it emitted a thick fire-coloured finger-like discharges towards the ground.
Okay.
She described it. It's like unlike anything she's ever seen from a light before. Or like it sounds very much like a flare.
Yeah.
But the thing she's not saying is it acts like a flare with sparks. It's thick, it's fire coloured, but it's finger like, and it's emanating down to the ground as this light starts to drop.
Okay.
So it's getting
So
stranger.
is that like, you know, uh, we've probably all by now seen Elon's, land, like his rockets that can like come back down and land on the launch pads, and they like fire off the flares on the rockets, don't they, to like upright and kind of correct and land. Do you think it's like a kind of different type of technology for that sort of thing? Maybe.
Could be. Could be.
Okay.
It's really, really odd.
Yeah.
There is a part in this where apparently Kaz they try to use your phone. So you know when you said about trying to reach for a camera to
Yeah.
record the
Yeah.
event.
Camera quick. Yeah.
Yeah, there has been some reports where because there is depending on where you see some of the stories,
Yeah.
she's also witnessing it because her neighbour comes out, a guy called Dave, and they're
Okay.
just actively watching this thing as it does what it does, and they try to get the phones out to record it, but the devices completely fail. Um,
That's
and
interesting.
and there's a feeling of like electromagnetic interference that's happening around them, which is why the phones
Okay.
won't turn on.
Yeah.
So there ends up being no recording because that's the first thing the skeptics are going to say is it's 2016. They've probably got an iPhone. Why are they not recording it? Well, I don't think it's as simple as that because maybe they
No.
don't want it to be recorded. I love how we go into it with the human view of
Of
well
course.
they might not want to be recorded.
No.
Um, I mean, imagine, right? A lot of people talk about the shock of people coming to terms with this, and we've had a look at some of the videos, obviously that came out in that first drop. Imagine if that was a crystal clear video of a pyramid shooting lights down to the ground completely silently. That might come as a bit of a shock to people. Maybe they're not wanting to record it because maybe through the art of word of mouth society, culture become more attuned to what's going on in a
Yeah.
slow drip feeding manner rather than a cold bucket of water that could be that video.
Yeah. Agreed.
Just my thoughts, Dave.
Yeah, I think, I'm all up for let's get disclosure done. But equally, I think, for people that are maybe not into the topic, we talked about it a little bit when we were looking over the War.gov release files in what we filmed last week.
Mm.
I think just because we're ready and ready to see it, there was
Mm.
still plenty. And Kyle, you referenced the council meeting for the kind of
Yeah,
airport, the
yeah,
Doncaster Sheffield airport. And I made a comment that, the majority of people in that chamber were laughing and not taking
yeah,
seriously the concerns that were being heeded by the councillor, just around maybe we need to think about, is there like some risk and some safety concerns that we should be thinking about specifically as a region, based on advice from NASA. And everybody was kind of laughing and chortling like he was, a crazy man, but he wasn't. And I think that shows the real truth of where society's at, to be able to, really take on board or believe or lean into, anything that's being shared. Like, I think that
mm,
skepticism's so rife.
yeah. It is, and it makes me think, what would it take for those people to come to terms with this? Because it's them. I think it's going to be those people that have probably the biggest adjustment to make with this. Time will tell. I think it's funny. I think the more we see that's happening at the minute, and the more you look back at cases like this and some of the others that we've looked on, I think it's about being on the right side of history now. And we're kind of going off on a little bit of a tangent, but it's worth mentioning that as this evidence becomes more prevalent, we are seeing more people come in line. Neil deGrasse Tyson this week has announced that he's just releasing a book on UFOs. He's been
Okay.
one of the biggest detractors for the last 10 years on this subject. Now, because it's becoming more mainstream, he's all of a sudden released a book, and there's people saying that he's now trying to own the subject. It's amazing how that changes, because again, humans tend to have this need to be in the thick of anything that's kind of hot topic. We've lived this for years, believing when everybody thought we were idiots. Only now is it becoming mainstream, and those people are kind of, you're going to see them go really against it or come in line with it and probably struggle a little bit and probably fight and have denial too with it.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're going to move on because things get a little bit weirder.
What, even more weird?
Because
I mean, it's already pretty weird.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
All right.
yeah. I do think this encounter's missing something that would have made it as weird as one of the other ones, but we'll see how we go as you kind of learn more about it. So as this is happening, the witness then says that the pyramid released a smaller green object, and they note that this is a bit of a key transition point that happens, because it goes from that one big object, but then there's multiple objects all acting independently. And at the same time, as well as the green object that separates, there's also like the red object starts to move in different directions, because you have to remember the pyramid's there, you see the red light that's moving, then there's a green light, and then these two things start moving like they've got their own minds in and around the area. The words that they use, like, it almost looked as though it was a coordinated event. But
Right.
if you've got things that are moving, they're obviously moving. They're moving in what's the word? Intelligently controlled.
Yeah, yeah. Like they've got awareness. They've got awareness of the other object, whatever it may be, and kind of whether it's moving synchronized or not synchronized. There's awareness and avoidance, for want of a better way. But in my mind, what I'm picturing is a huge kind of pyramid type thing. Yeah.
Yeah,
And then two lights, I'm almost kind of picturing like a figure of eight formation, the sort of thing, like infinity symbol. Okay, fascinating. That's quite interesting. I mean, I think I'd probably still be in awe, maybe more
yeah,
so even at that point.
yeah. Well, things get a little stranger. So you've got these two items. They're described as kind of like barrel shaped. So they're kind of moving and they're kind of doing their own thing. And then what happens is one hangs back, and then the other one draws close to the witnesses,
Yeah,
and it's around 20 feet above them as it pulls in, so it's really
yeah,
close. And then what happens is the witness then says she has a feeling as though she's being scanned.
Okay.
Um, like there's something that comes over, like it's almost taken a snapshot. Now it could have been. It's weird that she felt like she was being scanned, but it's almost like, are they looking at the witnesses to see if they're a threat?
Yep.
Because when that happens, and it doesn't tell you the color, but it says that the color of the object changes
All right.
before. Then at that point, they both depart silently off away in different directions,
How interesting.
like recon.
Yeah, that's very
Yeah,
interesting.
it's it's this kind of like you've got a we always say you've got a very different experience to me. This is the kind of experience I've always wanted, like undeniable. You're seeing something do things that aren't possible. There's interaction. It seems intelligent. It's this kind of thing that I would love. My experiences have been a little different, where you can probably have that vague sense of did it, did it? Like there's that
Yeah.
the ambiguity of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just think it's really
Interesting.
there's some interaction with them, and then like there's it feels like there's thought behind what they are doing, but things ramp up a little bit now because at
Even
this
more.
point they say, yeah, they say that at this point there's a fleet of RAF helicopters enter the scene.
Okay. That is
Now
interesting.
it's funny, yeah. Well, it's funny because the words that they use. The
Yeah.
word they use is it felt like an interception, not a coincidence.
Okay.
So they must have known.
Yeah.
The military must have known.
Okay. So radar signatures, that sort of thing. We're scrambling whatever aircraft we've got nearby to go and intercept. Okay.
Mm, yeah. And it felt to them as though it wasn't just an interception, but it was also a chase down. They
Okay.
were after them. And
Wow.
it's around this time we were getting reports of governments and military on both sides of the Atlantic trying to shoot things down.
Yes. Yeah. Remember that.
Well, pop a pin in that. Um, just pop a little pin in that. Um, the witness then says that this activity then seems to drag off into the wider accounts that happen in and around the town.
Okay.
Because there is an alleged view that something crashed.
Okay.
Now, there's a hospital called the Royal Glamorgan Hospital, which is in and around the area.
Okay.
Um, and the thoughts was that the interception, was to push the smaller items away from the town. But in and around the hospital area, around 4 a.m. in the morning, there was a report of a major impact or an explosion happening.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's
Now, believers believe that this
frightening.
is the point where something's been shot down.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. And that's where the story ends. And I did a little bit of digging to find out what potentially happened after, if there was any reports around kind of the intervention. But it kind of goes cold. There's not much that's reported after.
Okay.
Um, there was some follow up by the witness where um, there was reports that were pushed out into the media that the military came out and said that the events of the evening were done because of a military drill that was put on, but the witness said that it was instantly rejected because it was clearly not normal aircraft that was seen in the sky.
Okay.
Um, her view was that the exercise explanation it's just pure misdirection, and nothing ever really came to light in regards to the potential impact, the potential explosion. So, what's your thoughts?
Mm. I said it at the beginning, and I'm going to say it again. There's no such thing as a coincidence.
Um, it might be worth saying as well that people have visited the area, and you've got to take this, I think, with a bit of a pinch of salt.
Yep.
In that they believe that they've took some readings of radioactive signatures in and around the area as well.
Okay.
But people tend to use Amazon purchased items, EMF readers, for the ghost hunt style stuff. So I don't know if you can put too much weight into that. But it's just a nice little add-on to say you could look at it and say there is some potential of physical evidence that was left behind. Why I find that interesting is one of the stories that Jacques Vallée said at the conference that I went to last year, where there was an object within the woods in a particular area in America that completely irradiated the trees, and they were able to pick that evidence up weeks after. So you can see that people have got the right mindset to try and get physical proof, but I don't think there's anything of weight that could be said that we really got proof of it happening in that particular little village in Wales.
Wow. This one has really blown my mind a little, Kyle. I didn't know about this, and obviously we had a brief chat to check whether I knew about it or not before we started recording, so it's been really good to run through. I think I find really poignant the arrival of military, whatever kind of craft it is, whether it's helicopters or jets. I think there's a lot of footage that already exists. If you look it up on YouTube, guys, there's lots of footage that exists of helicopters intercepting these objects. In fact, even in the War.gov files, the FBI photos that I talk about in our kind of analysis, we don't share that particular photo, but if you do go and have a look on the War.gov/UFO domain and have a look, there's some FBI images, and they are images of, a craft and the helicopter going to intercept it. So, and from footage I've seen, helicopters generally are the thing. So maybe they're a bit more stable in and around whatever the crafts are that they're going to intercept. So that's quite interesting, but probably aligns with that wider, certainly my expectation, I guess, from what I've seen. It's interesting that they think there was a loud explosion. Could that have been a crash? I mean, yes, it could. That's always covered up, but nobody's ever admitted that there is a crash. Even if there's high speculation and even photographic evidence, it's never been admitted, and there's plenty of that kicking around. I'm really intrigued by the phones being interfered with. That's not the first time I've heard that. Like in other reports with certain types of objects, that's been reported. And there was multiple witnesses. So, for me, the credibility's up there. I think, Kyle, based on your experiences as well, where you talked really personally about your own experiences, I think that feeling of, interaction, for want of a better way to describe it, whilst I've not noticeably had that, I think I don't ever disbelieve it. So I think it's quite an interesting part of the topic. I'm in bed, I'm asleep, and I get this urge. I think
to come in on that, it's weird, because on my journey with the topic of the paranormal, when I was younger, I would say that gut feeling, it was kind of what you'd brush off as, oh, it's silly. It's silly to focus in on kind of that as a feeling. But what I've come to realise, and this is wider just me as a person, that is the feeling I've come to trust the most in all walks of life. That's often the feeling, the voice I will listen to the most. When I get that feeling in my stomach, it's often a pull for a reason, and that I use that as probably my nose to follow. So I trust it now more than ever. I had a weird one the other night where I woke up and got that feeling but I kind of very
Okay.
quickly fell asleep. Um, I pay attention to it now. I really do
Yeah.
pay attention to it because often that is happening for a reason. Um,
Yes.
and some of the ideas and stuff that I do tends to come from that feeling.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, what is it? I
Okay.
mean, what's the word that people use? It begins with a C. God, I'm going off on a tangent here, but I forgot. It's something like not your conscience, but
Like your consciousness.
yeah, like the consciousness, like conscious. It's like for me, it's like the physical sensation of your consciousness.
Okay.
And if something's interacting with that and giving you a nudge, then
Yeah.
maybe it's giving you that nudge for a reason.
That's interesting.
Deep.
It's very deep. I was watching a video the other day, and it was talking about color that's implemented into night vision for the troops. And when it was first issued, it was issued in red. And the stuff that they saw when it was issued in red, they described seeing demons and angels and
Wow.
stuff flying around in the forests of Vietnam. So that's quite interesting. You
Whoa.
should go and do a little bit of research on that, off topic for our channel. However,
Yeah.
there was a statistic reference that the actual our human eyes can only see like a very,
Oh,
very small percentile
yeah.
of the actual world that we live in. Like I'm sure it was somewhere around 1% or less than 1%. So I think that's fascinating, and just what you've just touched on there, Kyle, just re-brought that back into my mind. That statistic, and maybe there's something to that.
Well, if you want me to freak you out, I actually did know that because that's something I find really interesting when you think of the different elements of light that we can see, and if
Yep.
light is a gateway into seeing other things that's around us, because basically our reality is a construct from our eyes, and
Yeah.
the brain interprets what we see through our eyes
Sure.
to paint what life is, and it is the eyes that can only see that 1% of light. So the next time you sat on, I'll say this to camera, the next time you sat next to your dog on the sofa at night and things feel a little bit spooky and you get that feeling in your tummy that, ooh, something feels a little bit strange, and the dog's eyes are walking around as if it's looking at something and starts to bark. Dogs can see, I think it's 4%, and they can see things that you can't see, which links back to Skinwalker Ranch because we're a bit down a leafy lane here, but I like this. Um, Skinwalker Ranch employed dogs as what they called biosensors because
Yeah.
of specifically that fact.
Um, okay. I'm mildly more nervous now than I normally am. So
My work
thank
here
you.
is done.
Yeah, I know you aim to do this often. I love it. Okay, I'll just take you for a walk down the high street though, because now I know your kryptonite, big man. So all good. Right, guys at home, thank you. Let's bring it back on topic. Let's go. So, what if we're a skeptic? What if we are a believer? Where's the evidence stack us? I think for me, believer evidence. So multiple witnesses, reports from wider witnesses, as the event went on overnight. The fact that the military turned up, they're all kind of in kind of favour of this was a real event. It really happened. Like Kaz was not making it up, and it's great that she was brave enough to get it out there and kind of talk about it. So like, well done, Kaz. And actually drop us a email, Kaz, if you want to come on and talk about it. We would be fascinated and delighted. So like, please do that. We'll make sure you're added in the chat to any socials that you've got, and Kyle and I can kind of do that. So I think that's kind of believer. Is there anything else that we've got evidence that we want to throw in there?
I think for me, believer. There isn't much else because normally, like if like on some of the other cases, it's like people have withheld their identity and stuff like that. I mean, I don't think there is much else. It's multiple
Okay.
witnesses. There isn't much physical trace evidence. It
I
is
mean,
more kind of
the
word of
scans.
mouth.
You talked about
Yeah,
them.
scans.
I don't mean the body scans. I mean the guys that went out after and were able to kind
Yeah,
of
yeah,
find some traces. I guess that's another
yeah.
piece on the believer side. Okay.
Mm. The explosion at 4 a.m.
Yeah.
I think that's something physical that was felt by others,
Yeah.
and I don't think they ever really understood what that was after. I think
Yeah. Nor
that's
found the
quite.
evidence.
Yeah, I mean it's circumstantial. It's not a smoking gun.
No. Sure. Okay.
Can't think of anything else. What about skeptics side?
So I think you touched on it right at the start. The skeptics will say military activity in the area. You're just seeing the military stuff, albeit I've never seen
Bless them.
any pyramid shape military apparatus anywhere. And why would the military helicopters turn up to kind of chase something away if it was their own? Just saying.
Mm,
Just saying. What else would a skeptic say? Probably was Kaz sleepwalking? I guess they'd say that. I think.
um,
What about a neighbour then? Both sleepwalking.
yeah,
Both went out to the field. It's kind of
same
random,
time,
so I'd shut
same
that down.
place.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Um, what else? I think not being able to find any evidence of the explosion. Therefore, the
yeah,
military were in the area. Were they just setting off some, kind of flashbangs or whatever? Which, yeah, fair is probably a good question to ask. But whilst they are loud, they're not loud like an explosion. They're more loud like a firework. From my own personal
yeah,
experience, I can tell you that. Like set off in the right location with the right echo acoustic, sure you can make them louder, but most of the time, you know, they're loud, but they're like firework loud, and not even the big
yeah.
ones.
Okay. Where do you land?
I think I'm a camp believer.
Mm, I
Yeah,
think I am with
firmly.
this one. Yeah, I think I am with this one because it's quite strange, and I think even it's it's quite detailed as well. It doesn't seem quite woolly, and I suppose you could say this is an argument for it being more on the actual Believe account, which would be a pro. Is the story hasn't been over egged. So,
Yeah,
like when we talked about the one that's not aired yet, the one up at
yeah,
Falkland Hill,
yeah,
I landed on that being true because of the fact that they really didn't claim any infamy. These guys disappeared. They
yeah,
moved
yeah.
swiftly after
Very
something really
quickly.
affected them.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that story is insane with what happened
Yes.
there. Here, it was like we saw a pyramid, some lights came out the back of it, it moved independent. There was this activity where it scanned me, then they were kind of chased off. That was it. There wasn't any, and then it followed up, and then it turned up in the middle of the night. It wasn't embellished. It's quite a small story,
Yeah.
and that makes me think, yeah, they've not. It's not been over egged to the point where you're like, really, really,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Fair. Nice. I really enjoyed this one, Kyle. Thank
Mm,
you. Thanks for doing the legwork and bringing it. And I really enjoyed it because I knew nothing about it. Like sometimes we'll research
you won't
together
be
and like we
surprised.
both kind of know. Uh, Kyle had texted me earlier today, guys, just so you know, and said, I've got a surprise for you tonight. So I'm not going to give you any clues, but, be prepared. And it's been a lovely surprise. So, guys, let us know. What do you think? Drop us a comment. Like, what do you think? Are you a skeptic? Are you a believer based on kind of what we've talked about? Have you got any more details? Perhaps you live in that area of Wales and you, were fortunate enough to kind of witness this. Drop us a comment. Let us know. If you are Kaz or Kaz's neighbour, get in touch. We'd be delighted to hear from you. We'd love to have you on the channel and kind of, talk to you about those events. That would be wonderful for us and all of the viewers. I think that's kind of it. I think
It
we're ready
is.
to wrap up.
We are. I think from me. Thanks for watching. Like, comment, and subscribe. Pretty please. If you've got anything, you know where the email address is. We'll keep sharing it. We'll keep battering it around the head with it. And just look forward to the next one. And just keep engaging with us. Like we're having a lot of fun doing these, and we want to do more. So no, thank you.
Thanks, guys. Thanks so much for tuning in. Kyle said it all. We'll see you next week. Can't wait.
See you in a bit.